Good afternoon. It's indeed pleasure to welcome all dignitaries, teaching fraternity, and my dear student friends to Autumn Fest 2020. Student Webinar Series 3, Human Resource Management on Biggest Challenges of HR in COVID-19. MIT-MBA, a mark of a true education, is now its 12th batch with 120 intake. Altogether, different place where you can master the art of business, professional MBA with specialization option and unique pedagogy. Now, we request our Honorable Secretary, Dr. Vasudev T, to address the participants.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sham. Good afternoon to one and all. So it's my pleasure to be a part of this webinar today. First of all, I would like to share my not share. I would like to thank the speakers of today's session, Srikanth, and the other one. I think it is Srirag, if I'm correct. Yes, it is Srirag. So nice meeting you virtually, and all the participants. So it is indeed it's a great pleasure for me to be with you today. All the participants. First of all, I would like to congratulate the faculties of MBA department of MIT Mysore for arranging such webinar, which is the need of the hour. So, of course, though title is limited to the challenge for HRS, I feel these challenges are open to almost all areas. So, especially when it comes to teaching learning process, I think we have also come across plenty of challenges, and of course, we are getting some innovative ideas to overcome these challenges or to resolve these challenges. So, of course, definitely, I'm not an expert to speak much about the HR related issues. So, of course, the speakers are readily available here, and they definitely help the stakeholders to understand the challenges and the way to overcome these challenges, especially in HR. Uh, so, with this, I wish a grand success for this webinar, and I thank all the organizers for inviting me to and speak a few words regarding the webinar. So much of the things has been already told by our Dr. Sham and other speakers, our other members of the trust. So they have already spoken about the trust, and I don't want to repeat the same thing once again. So anyhow, I wish I ask Dr. Sham to continue with the session. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now it's our privilege to welcome and introduce today's speaker, Mr. Srikanth Suri. Is currently functioning with VKC Group India, Chief HR Officer. He is a dynamic, innovative HR leader possessing about 19 plus years of experience in retail manufacturing industry. He has worked for Mahindra Retail Private Limited, Shumark Limited, LLC Dubai, Levi Strauss India Private Limited, Pantaloon Retail India Limited, Shrivan Infotech Limited. So these are his work experience. And going to his education, he is a product of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and also Rajendra Prasad Institute of Communication and Management, where he has completed his PhD, IR at PM, and Badruka College of Commerce, where his bachelor's degree was done. Proven expertise in HR strategy, HR operations, talent acquisition, manpower planning, annual budgeting, organization structure, restructuring, performance appraisal, compensation and benefits, key result area management, succession planning, industrial relations, statutory compliance, labor laws, change management, HRIS, organization culture, and values alignment. So now, request Sir to take over the session. And one more, today's webinar 3 of HR series is coordinated by our event coordinator, Professor Abhilash. He is going to be the moderator for today's event. So I welcome him also to this session.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Sham, and thanks a lot, Dr. Vasudev, for inaugurating the sessions. And I'm very pleased to actually be a part of this. And I also thank Professor Abhilash, who is going to now really see how we communicate and pass on this message in terms of what challenges that are we faced and what challenges that are we going to face now. So both, I think you will have a great challenge now. How do we actually cascade it further? Now, also the chief patrons who were there, Dr. Murli and Mr. Vasudev already said, Mr. Krishna Gowda and Dr. Naresh. And all the students, a very warm good afternoon. Uh, Today's topic, as we all know, that this is the challenge is the biggest challenge for HR as such. Now, even before we talk about biggest challenge for HR, there's so much in the news that how COVID has actually impacted the economy, impacted the people lives, the entire the strata of the society has actually been shaken up. It has affected livelihoods to unimaginable manner. Now, it is any words is a less description of the pain and grief people have gone through. Now, it's not easy to quantify these losses, but yes, when you look at in terms of economy is concerned, where industries are concerned, uh, it has been a big blow, and it is just like going through an earthquake when your multi-storied building just crashes down. Now, we are no exception because we are into a commodity and a brand business. You all know I have to introduce the organization. We manufacture close to about capacity that we have about is 13 crore pairs of footwear is what we produce, which is close to about say 9 to 10% of Indian population. Uh, we produce footwear, and we are, by the way, the largest footwear manufacturers in India, and we take pride in actually providing footwear solutions to people who are commoners, people who are below the poverty line, who can afford this footwear, and the most economical and most safe footwear that we provide. Now, what happened with us? It's a journey that we'll have to talk about, that which will automatically tell you in terms of the kind of challenges that we had gone through. As a HR professional, the biggest challenge is to manage human uh, emotions here, and also after people go through such kind of trauma, in terms of getting back them to work and perform in an in a seamless manner, and culturally again getting back them on feet is the biggest challenge. Now, here we put up a small presentation to summarize in terms of what we did as an organization, which can give you a bird's eye view of what HR has gone through in terms of accepting this challenge and then living up to this challenge. I'll just share my screen, and post which I think we'll start this. You may stop me in terms of wherever that you feel that you have any questions. It could be a free flow style. I don't mind taking questions in between. One minute. I hope you are all able to see this. So if you were to look at in terms of the overall scenario, that how we have actually accepted this challenge of COVID-19 action taken team. I'm just talking about one unit here. As an organization, we have taken all these initiatives across all the units. Just to give you a brief background in terms of, we are about 6,000 strong workforce, out of which close to about 5,250 people are blue collared, and people who are mix of in terms of people coming from all states, and locals are there. There are people who are migrants who have come from different parts of India. They all work in our units are concerned. It is true for both white collar and blue collar. Just to see in terms of what were the major challenges, I'm just bucketing it for post COVID in terms of what were the challenges. During the COVID, what were the challenges? Now, first thing, post this COVID, we March 21st, 23rd onwards, major lockdowns have actually started. Never before in the history of mankind that lockdowns, we have heard only about in 1919, 1918, where there were pandemic in terms of this flu, which actually made lockdowns happen during the time. And after that, never again that we have heard of any kind of lockdowns. The first thing that actually people experience is what happens to the job. Now, HR people were poured and they were dumped with these questions in terms of by emails, by phone calls, by conferences, in terms of, how do we ensure that the jobs are there? Because that is the biggest threat that people experience in terms of what is going to happen for their job. Because it's a lockdown. Most of the people were daily wage earners, and this is outside our organization. For our organization, everywhere on the job roles, and they were completely in a very protected environment. But yes, they experienced too, because they are privy to a lot of information that was available in the public domain. And with the WhatsApp messages, left, right, center, they were getting messages to see in terms of, most of the people have lost jobs. They are not able to earn. Most of the people are walking back to their home because their employers have denounced them. They have not been provided any benefits. The first thing was the job security was the biggest challenge that, the HR was to address. Second, in terms of while people were in-house, people were not allowed to go. People even had a slightest cold or cough, it would have become a big issue in the premises. So we didn't have in terms of doctors, we never preempted. Obviously, we have a station doctor in every unit or available doctors in terms of if we were to bring them down on a weekly visit, bi-weekly visit that we used to organize. We've seen that the doctors and medicines that were not available during this lockdown. People were selling medicines in the black market. And we've seen doctors are just, not being available, and they themselves were scared to even attend any kind of cases. Third, food supplies. The biggest challenge that we have faced is we housed about 5,200 people, 250 people in our accommodations. And there are also some people, almost about close to about 1,000 people, in terms of our, out of which who are locals, who are just nearby to their factory locations, who had their own small family. They wouldn't stay in our accommodation. They were, facilitated with in terms of their own accommodation is concerned. Now, these people, how the food would reach. While government were taking a lot of measures, it was not really clear in terms of, in the beginning, in terms of what would actually operate, what would not. And people were also scared. Small time retailers, big time wholesalers, they were not really ready or geared up in terms of what it would mean to handle a lockdown. And stress in the local environment, because your politicians, be it health inspectors, be it in terms of, because National Disaster Management Act was in force, so it overrules any other act that is prevailing. So the lot of authority was given to the local government to actually administer and enforce the principles of lockdown. And during the same time, in terms of government has also taken initiatives to see that the people were ferried back. So it was a nightmare kind of a situation, a chaotic situations that HR was handling. And then lack of clarity and support from government officials also. like I have already told you, because the guidelines were constantly changing. The guidelines for Bihar would change to guidelines Tamil Nadu would change and Karnataka would change, and we had all kinds of workmen who are coming from different states working in our premises. So everyone would like to avail the services of that specific state. Whatever conveniences were provided, they were claiming that conveniences. So it was very difficult for HR people who were handling the workmen at our own accommodation to explain to them it is not safe for them to travel. But then it was very, very difficult to convince them, because every government was opening up their own portals and asking, and ferrying buses for them to bring their own the workmen back to their own states. And the government was also not sure in terms of the quarantine rules. And the biggest of the challenges was people didn't know what COVID is all about. The awareness levels in terms of people, they all know that they have to wear a mask. They all knew that they have to always do a hand wash. These were the two things that was drilled down. But really understanding what is this disease is all about and how they need to protect themselves, the awareness campaign was very, very distorted, because medical professionals were throwing up that this is not really a great threat. There were some people who claim that this is very serious. Some people come with a lot of homeo medicines and Ayurvedic medicines. So people were confused in terms of where multiple directions the information was flowing in, and they had no lack. There was absolutely no clarity. Now, if you were to summarize the challenges that we have faced and challenges the Indian industry has faced, VKC is no exception. Number one, lack of awareness. So the biggest challenge in terms of was lack of awareness and lack of preparedness in terms of to address this. And the biggest challenge again was in terms of how do we manage food supplies. That was another, and medical supplies. And lastly, in terms of if their safety, security is to be ensured, people going back and getting themselves quarantined or staying back with their family was considered as a great need for them, rather than any other initiative that the people have done. So this was one of the biggest challenges that we faced, and what we did to manage is what I'm going to explain. Obviously these are challenges and which every organization, every HR person, every institution in this country had faced, and across the world that they have faced. So moving on, in terms of what we started, it's a little innovative. We started a campaign called Break the Chain campaign. Now we have understood that the COVID would only spread if there is a chain that can trigger. Now, if you break the chain, it means that if you ensure that the people stay back in their own home, or they don't travel extensively, they don't come into close contact with people who are affected or infected. So we took adequate help of Arogya Setu campaign, and then we've ensured that all the employees who had mobiles, we asked them to actually download the Arogya Setu app. It is a wonderful initiative which government has taken, and we have taken a full advantage of it. And thereby we discovered 97% of our workmen and our staff were on Androids. That is the first eye opener for us. We all thought that workers and blue collar people can't afford mobile and they are not digital savvy, but they were more digital savvy than we thought. Now 97% of the people actually downloading the Arogya Setu app, and they're looking at all the updates that are coming from different governments on their mobile. What we first did is actually enable the Arogya Setu app so that they are comfortable. We had almost stationed like I said, close to about 4,500 and 1,000 people 1,000 people who were staying near to their locations of the factory, uh, you know, to see that, they got the food supplies without any problem. Now, the moment the lockdown was announced, our HR team, first thing that what they did is to go back to the local market, see that at least for 2 months period, adequate stocking was done in terms of pulses, rice, and vegetables. Where obviously we had to always fetch vegetables, but whatever storage that we could do in terms for a week or so, we did it. And we have ensured that there was no short supply of food is concerned and medicines is concerned. Now, this was one blessings, or forethought that we actually had to estimate that probably if this gets extended, what is that we are going to do? So that was the first question that we had. Now, the break the chain campaign didn't happen overnight. We followed a complete strategy. The strategy was first that we've actually got an emergency response team formed across all our units. We have got about 12 depots and 9 major units where the workers were stationed, plus the big corporate office that we had. So we first put an emergency response team and divided these teams with responsibilities of food, responsibilities of transport, responsibilities of in terms of medicines, responsibilities of employee engagement and training. Now, when we did this, we picked up people, volunteers from workmen and senior people who volunteered to actually, play the role of what it takes to be a hero. And we put up a very good, plan also, an engagement plan during this entire 40 days, 45 days that lockdown happened. We have gone full on communication. That what we realized is that, when people are stationed in one location and they have nothing to do, and all that they only listen to is the news of how many people are infected, how many people actually expired, how many people are still serious. This information was actually very demotivating, and it was spreading fear. Obviously, the intention is not spreading fear, but the government actually wanted to drive awareness. But then the flip side of it is also that people were in a panic mode. What we did in terms of to address this is educate the employees. And we also not only just educated them, we've got also every now and then we were also ensuring that our premises were actually cleaned, sanitized, and the responsibility of that, the ERT team, the emergency response team, has actually wonderfully done it. We've displayed on notice board in terms of what are the do's and don'ts, like what the advisory that has come to us that air conditions needs not to be actually we put up across, but during summer, remember, in terms of not having air conditions in some of the locations was very, very difficult. So somehow we could actually, by a lot of pedestals fans, opened up in terms of ventilation, which was very much required as per MHA guidelines. We have restricted use of biometric devices because everyone were to punch, but we've replaced the entire biometric systems with automated face recognition machines. And also we've spread this awareness not only to us, but also the vendors who are coming and supplying us, the essentials are concerned. We have gone about in terms of, there were also a lot of issues that, it can through bird also that, the flu can spread. So we had taken campaign in terms of even vaccinating the birds so that they don't catch flu. And through birds, actually, this actually spreads across. No one thought about it, but I'm glad that, we kind of gathered all the information and acted upon it. So we've ensured that, people who were outside coming to our premises, they were having water to actually wash their hands, cleanse themselves before they enter, or even for general public in terms of they don't know where to go, because they were unwelcome guests even if they had to knock their door of the neighbor and ask for a glass of water. So we realized that these were, you know, the inhibitions that people had. So we put up a water tap. This is appears to be a very small initiative, but then during this time of pandemic, this was very well appreciated by the government also. We never thought that this would actually mean so much. We had medical emergency logbook in terms of where people were facing with some disorders, some kind of inconvenience. We had this logbook where we immediately acted upon it, so that there was a point of contact who would actually look at in terms of medical facilities that are required for the people. So these were maintained properly. And we also maintain one more thing also, is to see that there are a lot of their relatives who are there, their contact numbers also is what we have gathered. Fortunately, in terms of doctors who were the real heroes during this time, actually paid a lot of visits to our factories also, because they know that we mean well. We did a lot of CSR activities during this COVID period, which I'll walk you through. And finally, we arranged visual displays on online news in terms of COVID is concerned. On overall, while we had these challenges, the emergency response team actually educating the workmen, taking care of all sanitizing methods of the factory and for the peoples, and also trying to figure out in terms of what else that could actually stop the COVID to spread. And besides this, we also thought, spreading this news, spreading this, the methods to stop this pandemic. We printed pamphlets and we circulated these pamphlets across in and around our units and in panchayats. And I'll just walk you through in terms of the next of levels. It's more visuals. So more than the talk, I think the visuals would actually help you to understand what we did. These are all on-field photographs. This is not something that we clicked for the purpose of presentation. This is how we actually did in terms of putting up a sanitization. You see the visual display in terms of how we had face recognition, installation in terms of capturing attendance, and do's and don'ts that are there on the notice board. Moving on in terms of, even before the lockdown was announced, the moment we got to know that there is something very dangerous that was coming up and it can show up anytime, we started actually spreading the word. We started actually interacting them, bringing them in groups and having a free flow discussion with them in terms of what it is all about. And during the office also, we had in terms of boardroom discussions, we called them people in the conference room. We explained in terms of what is this COVID is all about and how dangerous it is and what we should do to mitigate. We've seen that in terms of internally, we developed our own hand wash facility. If you see in terms of bird flu, vaccinations were given. And this is all with the help of the government authorities. We worked very closely with the government authorities. And then we developed very innovative ways of in terms of hand wash facility is concerned. We've organized in terms of, like I said, that we had a ERT team and we conducted meetings on regular basis. We had weekly doctor consultation and free medicine distributions that we could manage. Besides that, what we did is an SOP rollout. And post-lockdown, the biggest challenge that we faced is how do we restart these operations? Because the guidelines were so stringent and we had surprise visits from the tahsildars, surprise visits from health inspectors, police, politicians. It was very difficult for us to see that we operate in any other manner other than what is being prescribed. Anyways, we are very law abiding. So we actually formulated the SOP, standard operating procedures, for resuming the operations. So like I have already discussed with you, I've already shared with you that we had ERT team and voluntary team, which actually have, stood on the front and have helped this entire, reboot ourselves. Now, this SOP, what we created, is on the lines of what is more compliant, and as well as operationally, it is very feasible in terms of operating in the manner that is was prescribed. We had cubicle seating arrangements that had to be rearranged. We have strictly installed, like I said, Aragya Setu app. We followed all the methods that were envisaged in the MHA guidelines, masks and gloves that were approved. We had taken about 100 set of PPE kits to, and we have stocked it in case of emergency. If someone had to go out, they had to wear this PPE kit is concerned. And thermal checkup, like we said, in terms of every organization was doing. And in fact, we were the first to, even before the lockdown actually resumed, we had actually procured all these items. We preempted that these might be required. We arranged security guards internally. Due to the movement restrictions, the security guards were not able to go home. So we actually stationed all the security guards to see that they were provided accommodation. We didn't see whether they are the vendors or their contractors staff. We had to go out of the boundary of just my organization, your organization. We just had to touch upon every life that had come into contact with our organization, to see how we can positively impact and positively protect them from this pandemic. Social distancing norm, needless to say that everyone, even now that we are following. Now, we had made special arrangement for vehicle passes from rural police station for movement of vehicles, because we had to ferry in terms of vegetables, food, fruits, drinking water. There were so many times that we had faced issues in terms of local movement is concerned, because areas were getting into containment zone. In the containment zone, there is no vehicle movement that is possible. Now, this was bigger challenge for us to see that we reroute our supplies. Sometimes we had to, just at 10 meters of distance, that we had to actually travel 7 kilometers to reach the same spot. We had such kind of situations that we had to face. And this is the role, SOPs, that we had to revisit the entire roles and responsibilities of the people. And at the same time, in terms of, the MHA order says that we need to have the markings that is done in terms of wherever people are standing and groups needs to be called. We made adequate partition in terms of a workplace is concerned, following the guidelines. I'll show you, this is how it is in terms of how we actually started off. In terms of, as per SOP, we started marking of the areas. These are the areas where you see, this is the machine area that you see in between, the middle of the photograph. This, you see a conveyor belt in terms of where people, pack the shoes in terms of once it comes, they check for quality. And, it's a conveyor belt movement happens. Then we had to put distances, put them in boxes. And that's how we started managing. And you could see canteen, in fact, diagonal seating method was suggested, and that's how we started off. We had to clean every area of the organization and sanitize at regular intervals. This is how we started post the lockdown was lifted, and the relaxation of the rules also had actually put another challenge, is to see that now the movement is more easy. So we had to be extra alert. Lockdown was only one challenge. And after lockdown is the major challenge, is to see that when everything is going, how do you conduct operation on a running heart? It was like that. In fact, we should ensure that the 100% safety of our employee is ensured. At the same time, that we need to sanitize and monitor that SOPs are not violated as per MHA order. And like I said that, besides doing this, we had to bring, a lighter moment to the entire thing. We also had to tell a lot of positive messaging that needs to be done, because there was gloom all over. Everyone were under panic stage. People were not able to go back to their families. They were restricted in terms of staying in their own quarters, staying in their own rooms. Their mental health was one of the bigger concern that we had to set up a lot of motivational sessions during and after lockdown. And we've also taken a lot of advantage of actually keeping them engaged by conducting a lot of training programs, and a lot of you know uh, the government actually was giving a lot of benefits, and people, to get that benefit, we had to actually educate them in terms of, like, provident fund office was actually giving them up to 75% in terms of withdrawal is concerned, partial withdrawal that is concerned. They were allowing it to happen. And ESIC, as I said, that they were not asking the employers to pay the entire, some deductions that we made, that to be contributed. They've given a 1 month time extension for April and May. And besides that, in terms of we've created WhatsApp group. We've actually started actually tracking people. We started actually showing them movies movies and news, for them to also stay informed in terms of what's happening in their own states, because people were very curious. So, fortunately, in terms of, we had all these facilities available. We had to bring a lot of motivational speakers to speak about in terms of various topics, not just one topic, to see that they stay motivated enough. And because we had the facility of actually small playground, but there were restrictions in playing also, so we had to take turns to actually play. And that was another thing. And also, people were wanting to withdraw money. They wanted to buy small things which are of matters for them, and they wanted to withdraw cash. In fact, we have requested banks to actually come and disburse their ATM. They had a mobile ATM facility, which actually was very helpful for us to actually withdraw cash for our workers are concerned. Now, this is how it has done in terms of daily news hour. You're seeing our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi speaking to people, addressing people, and explaining in terms of what they should do. And also in terms of awareness sessions that we were showing different presentations that were being made. And likewise, in terms of sports, we did birthday celebrations, and they showed movies, keep them engaged, make them to play. But it was not just restricted to during COVID, but we generally do in terms of employee engagement to keep the environment very lively and fun oriented. And we had started a small provisional store also, so that people can buy few things what are essentials are concerned at the accommodation facility, and we followed all the safety norms what is required. And CSR, so we distributed about 5,000 plus masks. We've started engaging our workmen to start helping the community at large. 5,000 plus masks were done, and we've kind of circulated it around the rural police station that we had. We have distributed more than 1,000 pairs of sports shoes during the COVID for all the people who are COVID warriors of Mysore district, like doctors, health officials, nurses, be it in terms of Mysore municipality is concerned, municipality health workers are concerned. Like about 5,000 numbers of provisional kits, worth 350 were distributed, because now the kits, the price is reduced, but during those times the price was very high. But we procured and we distributed to them. These are some of the images in terms of how we have distributed provisional kits for all the people. We had some newspaper coverage, but that was not something we did for newspaper coverage, but that's something that we did to see that our people in and around our plant across India were actually taken care. You see here, we did in terms of Walk for Good social media campaign. This is just after the lockdown happened. In fact, we've said that people should walk, should resume back, motivate them to start taking walks, because that's something that was necessary to start some positive note. So we started this positive note with people who were health workers, who were actually going miles. They're walking down to those locations where people, even the vans or even no health worker would walk up to. So people were going across so remote locations. So we said that this is a good opportunity to actually express our gratitude and support. This is what it is. And if you have any questions that I can take, and before I say anything, what I would request is I would ask Srirag to actually narrate one of the instances that what he has handled at Mysore plant, which is definitely noteworthy and should, I'm sure that people would learn from this experience in terms of what it would mean to practically handle a situation. So post which I will close the session. So Srirag, you're muted, Srirag. I think you need to unmute.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, Srirag, now you can share, please, in terms of your
Yeah, thank you.
experience of what happened.
Yes, sir. Actually, you all know that our your senior is working with us. Actually, Mr. Devya is your alumni of from your college, and he is working in my team. Actually, unfortunately he can't able to join. He's on leave for 1 week. So he tried from his home also to join in this session, but he's unable to log in due to some network issues at his home. So he called me also. Again, I requested, but he can't able to join. So we supposed to explain through him and through this session, but he's unable to join this session. So I will explain that one situation which has happened during the after the COVID situation. As Srikanth sir was explained all the situation what has happened during the COVID pandemic nicely, and he narrated very well with the this point and all. So apart from that, actually lifting the after lifting the lockdown and all, we are in a very gloomy situation. What is going to happen next days and all? How it is operation to be resumed, because we are not getting a proper guidelines from the government officials and local bodies, and because it was a new thing to the society as well as the world. Actually, first time we are facing such a drastic situation. So we can't able to blame to the government officials also. Same. They are also helpless, and we are also new to situation. They are also new to the same situation. So we are not blaming anybody. So as a part of the this one, we have started all the necessary standard operation procedure, all the things we have followed. And before the hiring procedure was very difficult task for us, because market also gradually picking up for our operations and all. So product also their requirement was doing, and initial 2-3 months operation was not there. So no zero billing must happen for first April, May month. So budget also was not there for circulating the salary, and in fact we have given the full salary for the employees for during the lockdown as a deferred pay. So we have distributed whole salary for all the employees. Even the lockdown was happened. That is one additional point I have to say. So that budget was not there. So we are also forced to run the company with the limited measures and all. So we have started the recruitment part slowly, and we have started searching for the new recruits, and people are also not getting, because they are not moving out of their home, because due to the insecurity feeling among themselves. So we are very much this one pressure is happening from central team and production team and marketing sales team. So as an HR team, we are a service department actually. So we can't able to we are depending upon all the other finance team, and because we are the business partnering role we are doing, because we have to procure the manpower from from the market, and we have to supply. Then only the production people can able to make the material, and the sales can sell that one. So we are the we are in a situation like alien in an island situation. So we are looking for searching for that one, and we is a first batch of one bunch of people recruited from Bangalore. So they are traveling, and we have a internal SOP has created, like everybody during that time 15 days was the quarantine days for people who are inter district also, from Bangalore to Mysore or Mysore to Coorg, anywhere is traveling, they have to sit for their home in ideal for 15 to 20 days. So the same pattern we have followed for our new recruits also. So at that time we have started around 10 as an experimental purpose. The first recruitment we did from Bangalore, around 10 people joined. They are traveled from Bangalore to Mysore by a vehicle, and they moved to here, and we have separate this one facility was there for their quarantine. They have stayed over there. And what was happened during the same situation, one nearby our one company, I'm not naming the company name, that company was affected very badly. It was Nanjangud industry area. It was an MNC. So I'm not naming the going to name the company name. So that was also one fear was there in our mind. So if anything has happened to these people who are traveling from Bangalore, they are traveling for 4 to 5 hour journey. They are traveling in a public space, or we don't know how they are traveling and all movement and all. So they told that we will be there. Somehow we will reach there like that. So we have an issue that if any local people also means nearby people make any issue, because traveling is restricted at the time we are recruiting, some issue will be local, because we can't blame those people also. They are also afraid of their safety this measure and all. So we have managed with as per the government guideline only, we recruited these 10 people, and they traveled to our facility, and they have rest for around 15 to 20 days. They are kept in idle and quarantine for 4 to 5 people actually. Actually, initially 10 people they this one accepted our offer, but only 5 people they came to our facility. So after that, we tested their this one voluntarily. We took with the consult with the health officials, and they came to the facility, and they have taken the sample for before the entering into the facility. We are ensuring their negative test and all the things we have to record. All the things has to happen. So at the time, it is a next day morning. By 7:30, I am getting a call from our Tahsildar, Mr. Mahesh sir. Is a Nanjangud Tahsildar. By early 9:30 or something. Oh, sorry, 9 o'clock. So he was calling me like there is a one report has happened in your industry. So I was also shocked, because it is a very new to the industry actually. It is after this second company or something, second or third company, it is affecting positive for an employee in this area. It was a very challenging time actually for the we people. So it was a shocking news for me and my team, my plant manager, my UMC. It is a committee called UMC is there managing the unit. Then my HR team Deveya and Krishna Prasad was there. So we are all very much afraid of the situation. So at the time he visited to this government official Mahesh sir. He visited the plant, and we have visited all the facility. What are the restrictions and safety measures we have taken? All the things he have observed, and he thought that it is fine, and we are doing a very well job in the industry. So he got a trust on us, and he told that because I'm getting so many calls on that same day from all the HR fraternity of Mysore. So there, my friends from nearby industries are calling me. What happened to this one? Any help is required, we will be there. There is no issue, because this is the second or third industries getting the positive affected case. So we are also very new to that one, and we are very kind of and thanks to my HR fraternity in Mysore city actually. So they are also very helping hands was there, and actually I was surprised from the this is the first time I'm after this COVID situation. This Nanjangud, the Tahsildar, he was very cool and a young person. He was simply he came and he told that there is no issue, Srirak, there won't be any issue. We'll be there. We have to run the industry. It was a actually that collector was there. He spoke to the collector, district DC of Mysore personally, and he told that they're maintaining all the MHA guideline, all the things they are focusing, and we can. There is not required any need for close down the industry, and we have to give a one report that what are the scenario has happened in the industry next day, and give a report SOP all the things, how sanitization is going to be done, and what are the future steps you are going to make. All this such report has to be submit to the Nanjangud Tahsildar. So he just suggested only that one word. So within the same day, we sat with our central HR team, and our director was involved, our MD was involved, our functional head was CHRO was involved. All everybody has a video conferencing. All the things has happened, and same day evening itself, we drafted one letter and suggesting all the future upcoming steps what we are going to take, and what the how we'll overcome the situation. All the explanation, all the things we have submitted to the government official, and we had a visit to the this one local Tahsildar office, and had a we sat with for around 1 to 2 hours, and we convinced them, and they also gave us wonderful support to run the industry, because ultimately they are not this one obstructing our industry. Actually, they are much aware about the safety of the workers as well as outside and their local people. That's what their concern. That we understood about during that situation. So we also understood that it is much, because that kind of action was surprising for us, because they can send a notice that closing down the industry for 1 week. Easily they can do at that time, but this government and these officials simply they support us, and from that situation, and we as a team we managed that situation very well, because we got a lot of support from the government official, newspaper, media, local police people, and even during the lockdown there was some issue was happening that people want to move back to their native. So they are not listening. We are convincing them for stay back at the location. No need to travel, because company will be going to start the operation, resume the operation by within 2 months or 3 months, or 1 month, because it was in a dilemma when the company is going to reopen. So we are unable to, because they want a word from the government official. So there won't be any issue. So we approached the SP of the Nanjangud, and they suggested one CA, allotted one CA, circle inspector from this one local police station, and he came, and he in local language he conveyed all the situation what is happening outside. There won't be any issue. You can stay back here. The company is with you, and the government official is with us. So it is a motivation factor that was happened. That also was support, which was happened from the local government authorities and panchayat people. So these are the some experience, and I have to share with you. Actually,
Yeah, I think Srirag, just to as a closing note, I should tell with one closing note, not even one job was laid off in VKC. Not even one employee was asked to go or was not victimized in any manner in this company. That's the value system that this organization has brought to, and I'm very proud to be associated with this organization because of the culture and values that it truly believes in. Just not supporting the employees, but also the community in and around who are in need, because we had a greater accessibility to in terms of food, in terms of all the essentials are concerned. And then we had in terms of workmen who were actually developing masks and making shoes in terms of to give it to the health workers are concerned. So we felt that it is our duty to see that we reach out while we handle our own challenges internally. I think Srirag and the team's words are very less to describe the kind of ordeal that they have gone through and the kind of challenges that we face sitting at central office and in one cabin and trying to imagine what could go wrong or right. But rest assured, we have ensured that all our workmen, all our staff were paid, and they were taken care. So that's it all from us, and I'll be happy to take some questions. And I'm seeing a lot of students who are actually asking a lot of questions. Abhilash, I think
Yes,
it's up to, yeah.
yes. Some of the questions which are asked by participants, sir. The first question is, was okay. So was any fluctuate in the performance during the pandemic situations, or was in the same as previously?
So can I get your question again, because there's a lot of echo.
Okay. So was any fluctuate in the performance of employees during the pandemic situation?
See, first of all, in terms of performance of employees, we didn't see major challenge in terms of the performance of employees are concerned. First of all, in terms of the production output itself was restricted to saying that having only 50% of the people, not call all the people to work. Number one, because we had to first manage that. Two, already in terms of we are seeing that there was no consumption in the market where we had to produce so many pairs of shoes or chappals to distribute, because most of the markets were closed. And so we didn't find that there was a performance challenge. What otherwise that we found a challenge is to see that how to keep them motivated, how to see that their mental health was taken care, because they were in a panic situation, because for everyone it is a personal situation rather than a professional situation. Everyone wanted to actually talk to their loved ones, they want to go back to their parents, someone want to actually go back to their wife, they wanted to see their kids newborn. And during this time, in terms of, we had many people who were young parents. In fact, they wanted to go and see their child, because it's the firstborn of the child. They want to go back and see that the pregnant wife needs to be taken care, and there is no one back at home to actually take her to an hospital. So we had to really struggle in terms of making arrangements for such personal situations also for those employees, and to see that we organize and network among the senior most government officials to see that we facilitate in a most legal manner, abiding with all the rules that we had to do this. And the government, I'm saying, people would actually see when the government is at work during this kind of disaster situation, you will actually see how government is actually supportive. They're more than human. In fact, when you see in situations like that of how they reach out to people, and that's one thing is very unique to India, and very unique in terms of Karnataka, I should say, because hats off the people, to all the government officials, even the commoner for that matter, during this time was more than a human, and people were reaching out to each other. So performance was not the issue, is what I wanted to conclude.
Yes, sir. One more question which is asked by the participant. So it is regarding what recruitment process you designed to hire or onboard employee remotely.
Okay, this is a good question, because the bigger challenge was to see that to get workmen either locally or from different states. Now, the protocol is that we had 14-day quarantine period. Now, anyone that you recruit, you have to ensure that you have an adequate quarantine facility as per the MHA guidelines. They were stationed in the guidelines, as per the guidelines, and after 14 days is when they were put to training. So the 14 man days was literally an investment that we are making onto that employee, to see that he feels secure and he gets the trust on the company, saying that, look, we don't mind actually paying 14 days salary, but we want you to actually follow the rules and regulations of the government. And that is why most of the people were wanting to come back and only join us, because the word of mouth was very, very strong. Because the workers, blue collared or white collared, they were very choosy about the kind of organization that they wanted to work with. And especially, they had this market info in terms of who is actually paying 100% salaries and who is not. So that is also one of the value differentiators in terms of how people looked at us. In fact, they've known that VKC, Mysore, or any other divisions of the VKC across India was paying 100% salary, and they were giving all the facilities required to onboard people in a safe and secure manner.
Yes, sir. So one more question which is related to how VKC group infrastructure supported to the employees shift on their own workforce.
Now, how VKC infrastructure
Supported,
helped.
yes, yes, helps to the workforce to work from home.
Okay. See, there are two things. In fact, first I should say Zoom is the one which actually helped us a lot, and the next followed by Teams. If you say, in fact, we never thought in the wildest dream that the network or bandwidth of internet or the infrastructure in terms of digital medium becomes such important in terms of first things. If you were to talk about, there was a lot of support from IT engineers. In fact, most of the people only spread their good words and appreciation only for people who are doctors and engineers, doctors and nurses, and the police and people who are their frontline warriors. The whole lot of engineers who were working behind the scene round the clock to see that this network, the bandwidth, the system issues, the login issues, that was phenomenal. That was, I should say. In fact, our team of networking engineers were working round the clock to see that our servers were intact. In fact, our maintenance engineers who were to actually work behind the scenes in terms of keep our ETP, STP operations were intact. These are all, and these are all very, very important because these are all sensitive machines. If there is even a short circuit, a machine being not used, it was a safety concern for us, right? Infrastructural management, I think there was a lot of support from the employees to manage. And fortunately, in fact, we have always believed in investing for future. So we had better equipment, and all the people, like I said, 97% of the people were on Androids. So our communication was not impacted, and we could actually establish a good network. Besides, when you talk of building infrastructure, we had rented out large, apartments. In fact, a series of buildings that we have to house our workmen. So we had no dearth of scarcity or no scarcity anywhere. In fact, for us to manage or house so many people. So that was one of the things which actually helped us.
Okay. Sir, one more question. I think you addressed all the questions during your presentation. So, what are an employer obligations regarding self-isolating employees?
Yeah, that is also one of the most technical questions. I should say, I think Apurva or Aparna who has asked
Yes,
this
yes,
question.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I think as an employer, the first obligation is to see that the social security norms is not compromised uh, during any pandemic. First, one, it's not about the law, it's about the ethics. Law is definitely there, but first, ethically, as an employer, your obligation to an employee, whether it is recognized by government or not recognized, as a responsible citizen and a responsible employer, first you have to ensure that the social security measures are not compromised. It means number one, your pay should not be cut. Number one. Number two, your medical facilities should be extended. Number three is there is a freedom of movement which is not restricted by employer. You're free to go on your own, but then you have to follow the guidelines of what MHA order is stating, because most of the people wanted to just go back, and people were wanting to pick up bags and then just walk. In some cases, we had to actually go and tell the police people saying that, look, there are some people who are not wanting to follow the law. And we had assistance from the police to tell them saying that, look, you cannot do this and you have to follow the guidelines. The obligation like to simplify, first ensure that the pockets are not cut, their earning source of income is not cut, their medical facilities are continued to be paid, their contributions of provident fund or esic is not compromised. All these things is the first responsibility. Second, more than an obligation, it is an approach. See, to address the fears of these workmen, because they're all not highly educated, they are not well informed in terms of what to do and what not to do. Obligation is to see that to keep them, educated about, aware about this disease, provide, the doctor's support, even in terms just to do a confidence building measure that everything is okay. So these what we thought is are the obligations. While legally there are many things, I'm only restricting it by saying that social security measures should not be compromised.
Sir, sir, two more questions are there, which is related to the employees are quit. Employees are quit from the organization. I think it
Employees,
is quit from the organization. I think it is not related to your organization because one question is in this current scenario, many people are getting removed from their jobs. Will this not be the biggest challenge for the efficiency of the organization, specifically in this pandemic situation?
see what you have, the observation is right. I believe Mr. Taj, who has
Yes,
asked this question.
questions.
Hi Taj, I think your question is right. Efficiency of the organization will go down if you remove employees. But then that was not true in our case that we did never asked any person to leave. We kind of asked them to not to go and leave the jobs. In fact, it was the other way around. So if you look at it as a generic statement, it is a fact that if you don't, if you remove people who are skilled, whom you have trained, whom you have, groomed, you let them go, they would not come back to you again and join the organization ever. And probably they will spread negative word saying that, look, don't join this organization. When the organization was needed, their support was needed the most, they did something like this, that asking us to go would remain in his mind forever. So that was not something that our organization did. We, in fact, were people who actually are still recruiting as we speak. In fact, all the campus hires, I should say, are onboarded. While it was delayed because of the travel restrictions, but we had all the people whom we have placed, campus offers were given, they're onboarded. And I'm really proud to say that also on record.
Yes, sir. Okay, one more question. HR manager, how to roll in the COVID-19 pandemic situation? I think it is a repeat kind of questions which is asked by
Yeah, you have
participants.
to be, and I think this is
Yes,
Kemparaj.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Kemparaj, you have to become a Superman. So, if you think that if any 1 inch less than a Superman, you cannot handle the situation.
Yes, sir.
So it addresses all, because I'm not discussing much. I know I
Yes.
think we are running short of time as well.
Yes, sir. Sir.
Any more
So
questions?
will
I'll be free to take forward.
no, sir. No, sir. It is enough. There is no such questions. It is almost you covered almost all the information which is related to the biggest challenges faced in HR professionals. Okay, now we are moving to the vote of thanks. I'm Abhilash, Assistant Professor at Department of Management Sciences, MIT Mysore. It is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks to those who have witnessed it as a memorable and successful student webinar series 3, that is biggest challenges of HR professional in COVID-19. So, behalf of Maharaja Education Trust, Maharaja Institute of Technology and Department of Management Sciences, I thank today's resource person, Mr. Shrikant Suri sir, Chief HR Officer, VKC Group, for sharing his insights on today's topic and hope students also get benefited out of it. So we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence, sir. Once again, thank you, sir. And also, I extended thanks to our Honorable Dr. Murali as President Maharaja Education Trust Dr. Vasudev Ji, Secretary, Maharaja Education Trust, and Dr. Vati Krishnagoda sir, Mentor, Department of MBA, for their continuous support and motivation. I would like to express deep gratitude to our beloved principal, Dr. Naresh Kumar sir, for his enthusiastic support to organize this kind of webinar in our department. And also I extended thanks to Dr. Sham Bia, head of the department. And also I extend my thanks to Dr. Kumar for organizing this webinar and teaching and acting staff and student coordinators for their support and coordination. Last but not the least, our last very thanks to participants for actively participating in this event. With this warm word, we meet the end of today's session. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So we can log out.
Hi, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.